The Jesus Post, the Pope and 12 victories that never were. Trump's war, in his own words. Let's go back to the beginning. February 28th, 2026. The bombs start falling on Iran, and within 48 hours, before the dust has even settled, Trump is already calling it a victory. March 2nd, day 2 of the war. He tells ABC News, "This has been an unmitigated success. Nobody else could have done this but me, and you know that." Day 2. The war had 43 more days to run. Let me just sit with that for a second. Day 2. Unmitigated success. Nobody else could have done it. Right. March 5th. Trump is at a celebration for soccer champions Inter Miami. Iran is firing hundreds of missiles across the Gulf. Saudi oil facilities are under attack. And Trump tells the crowd that America is totally demolishing the enemy, far ahead of schedule, at levels people have never seen before. March 7th, 1 week in. Iran has fired over 500 ballistic missiles, nearly 2,000 drones. Kuwait has been hit. Bahrain has casualties. 20,000 sailors are stranded at sea. And Trump posts on Truth Social, in capitals, "We don't need people that join wars after we've already won." March 9th. Press conference at Trump National Doral, Miami. He tells reporters, "The war will be over very soon. Iran is all gone. We could call it a tremendous success right now." Iran is not all gone. The strait is completely closed. Oil is at $90 a barrel. But sure, tremendous success. March 11th. Victory number 3. "We've won. Let me tell you, we've won. You never like to say too early you won. We won." He then adds, without any apparent awareness of what he just said, "We've accomplished more in 1 week than anyone thought possible." Sir, it has been 2 weeks. March 13th. A reporter asks him how long the war will last. His answer, and I promise you I am not making this up, "The war will end when I feel it in my bones." When he feels it in his bones. That is the foreign policy of the United States of America. March 24th, day 24. Trump calls reporters together. "We've won this war. This war has been won." Same day, the Wall Street Journal calls it a premature victory claim. Trump fires back on Truth Social. "The Wall Street Journal stated that I declared premature victory in Iran. Actually, it is a victory, and there's nothing premature about it." The strait is still closed. The war has 20 days left. And when asked that same week what happens regardless of outcome, Trump says, "Regardless what happens, we win." Regardless what happens. April 8th, ceasefire announced. Trump immediately tells reporters, "Total and complete victory, 100%, no question about it." 3 days later, the Islamabad talks collapse. J.D. Vance flies home with nothing. America launches a naval blockade. 12 declarations of victory. 44 days of war. You do the math. But here is where it gets really uncomfortable. Because alongside the victory declarations, Trump was posting things on Truth Social that genuinely shocked people. And I'm not talking about political opponents. I'm talking about his own supporters, his own party, his own church. April 6th, Trump issues an ultimatum to Iran. He posts on Truth Social at night, and this is word for word what he wrote. "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again." Read that back to yourself slowly. A whole civilization, 90 million people, die tonight, never to be brought back. The Pope, within days, would say that language describes a war crime. American Catholic clergy called it apocalyptic. And still, the posts continued. April 7th, Easter Sunday, the holiest day in the Christian calendar, the day that marks the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Trump goes on Truth Social, and his message to Iran about the Strait of Hormuz ends with these words: "Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell." Easter Sunday, to 90 million people. from the leader of the most powerful Christian majority nation on earth, on the day that Christians believe their Savior rose from the dead. And then, 3 days later, Trump posted the image of himself as that same Savior. I am not going to tell you what to make of that. I genuinely think that is something each person has to sit with on their own. Now let me tell you about the conflict within this conflict, because this one has nothing to do with missiles or oil or nuclear centrifuges. This is about something much older, much deeper. Pope Leo XIV, the first American-born pope in the entire history of the Catholic Church. A man born in Chicago, who dedicated his life to the church and who has been speaking out against this war from day one. He called for peace. He urged negotiations. He condemned the targeting of civilian infrastructure. And then, after Trump posted that a whole civilization would die tonight, Leo went further. He said explicitly that threatening to annihilate an entire people is incompatible with any reading of Christian values. That was too much for Trump. On Truth Social, the same night he posted the Jesus image, he went after the Pope. His words, exact quote, "Pope Leo is weak on crime and terrible for foreign policy. Leo should get his act together as Pope, use common sense, stop catering to the radical left, and focus on being a great Pope, not a politician. I do not want a Pope who criticizes the President of the United States." Think about what just happened there. The President of the United States, who secured 56% of the Catholic vote in 2024, just told the leader of 1.4 billion Catholics to get his act together. And the Pope, a man from Chicago, got on a plane to Africa the next morning and said 5 words that I think will be remembered long after this war is over. I have no fear of Trump. 3 American cardinals went on 60 Minutes and said this war does not meet the criteria of a just war under Catholic teaching. Cardinal McElroy called it, quote, a war of choice. The war that Trump has declared victory in 12 times. His own church says it should never have been fought. Now, if you have been watching the Hormuz Files since episode 1, you already know what Professor Jiang said in 2024. You know what Scott Ritter said on day 3. You know what Colonel McGregor has been warning about for months. George Galloway, Professor Morandi, Ray McGovern. Every single one of them said, from the very beginning, this war would not end quickly. The regime would not collapse. The objectives were not achievable. So let me put their words next to Trump's words, and you tell me who was right. Trump on March 2nd, an unmitigated success. Professor Jiang in May 2024, America will lose this war. Trump on March 9th, Iran is all gone. Scott Ritter on March 3rd, the regime change operation has already failed. We are bombing empty buildings. Trump on March 24th, this war has been won. Colonel McGregor, US firepower invites endless retaliation that will crash America's own economy. Trump on April 8th, total and complete victory, 100%. Professor Morandi from inside Tehran, the Strait is under Iran's control, and the United States is unable to do anything about it. And Ray McGovern, the man who briefed 7 US presidents at the CIA, has been saying from day one that the intelligence driving this war is built on the same foundations as the intelligence that started the Iraq War. I am not going to tell you what conclusion to draw from that comparison. I think the record speaks clearly enough on its own. Here is where I land on all of this. And I want to be straight with you, because that is the only thing the Hormuz Files has ever promised you. What you have heard tonight is not opinion. It is not spin. It is the documented record of a president at war. 12 victory declarations while the war continued. A threat to destroy an entire civilization posted at night on social media. An Easter Sunday post using language I genuinely did not expect to hear from any president in my lifetime. An attack on the first American-born pope in history for asking for peace. And an AI image of himself as a messianic healer, posted and deleted within hours. Now, I am asking you a genuinely open question, not a loaded one, not a rhetorical one, a real question that I think matters. Is this the behavior of a man who is in control of this war? Or is this the behavior of a man who started something and does not know how to finish it? I don't have a definitive answer, and I would be lying to you if I said I did. What I do know is this: the words a leader uses in wartime matter. They matter to allies, they matter to enemies, they matter to markets, they matter to diplomats sitting in rooms trying to find a way out of a crisis. And they matter to the 800 ships sitting idle in the Strait of Hormuz right now, to the 20,000 sailors stranded at sea, to every family in the world that will feel the consequences of this war in their grocery bills and their heating costs and their mortgage payments. The Hormuz Files is here every single week because somebody has to keep the record straight. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with someone who only gets their news from mainstream media. And tell me in the comments, after everything you heard tonight, what do you think? I read every single comment, every one. I'll see you in the next file.